YouTube, what it do, man? It's your boy Benji, and we are back. This is 10 insane WWE story retcons. Now, this ought to be interesting.
Cons. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos. Number 10,
Shout out to WrestleMania.
The Undertaker vs. Triple H at WrestleMania 17. WWE's decision to have The Undertaker face Triple H at WrestleMania 27 went down well with the audience, and it was seen by many as the next logical rivalry for the dead man. Whilst the feud to the matchup had some fantastic moments, it was kind of bizarre that WWE just failed to mention that The Undertaker and Triple H had wrestled at WrestleMania before, specifically WrestleMania 17, 10 years prior. WWE decided to just outright ignore this during the build, and it wasn't alluded to a single time during a promo segment or even on commentary. WWE were likely under the impression that this added to the mystique of the match. Acting like WrestleMania 27 was their first WrestleMania matchup would somehow make the match more interesting. Number 9, Logan Paul and John Cena.
Dude, that was horrible.
The WWE decided to have Logan Paul involved.
Golly, we just started. We already in 2025? Oh my gosh. I will say, too, the Triple H and Undertaker, like, I remember when they originally ended up clashing around WrestleMania 27, bro. That was like, chef's kiss. Like, I was waiting for that moment so long.
In a number of John Cena's final matches in 2025.
Like, come on. He was on the side of Logan Paul. Literally said Logan Paul is the future. And then literally, like, the next PLE, he's fighting against Logan Paul.
Naturally, this has led to significant...
Logan Paul's the future. We're best boys. This is my boy, to the point where I'm willing to tag alongside this guy.
criticism from fans. During Cena's infamous heel run, WWE would have Logan and Cena team up, and it was presented as if the two were friends on screen.
Yep.
However, when Cena turned back to being a babyface, the two were now suddenly enemies.
Yeah, he knocked him out.
Both had personal issues with each other.
And Logan Paul's the one that called out the fact it was fake.
Wrestlers hating each other just because one is a heel and one is...
Speaking of Logan Paul, what the frick has he been? We haven't seen this guy in a minute, huh?
...is a face is incredibly weak storytelling, and unfortunately, WWE relies on this far too often. Number 8, sell your soul. Speaking of John Cena's heel run, one of the central elements of the entire arc was The Rock. The Rock would initially try to get Cody Rhodes to sell his soul, but after he refused, Plan B would be John Cena. At the 2025 Elimination Chamber PLE, Cena would turn to the dark side, and he would in essence become The Rock's corporate puppet.
I don't understand that. I don't understand why they just go through stories and then like just act like it didn't happen. And then your entire calling card for the Triple H era is supposed to be storytelling. And nothing makes sense.
As a viewer, how are The Rock and Cena going to interact on WWE television? How was Cena going to be presented as the corporate sellout?
They did this and literally the next week threw it away.
Well, just shortly after the Chamber PLE, The Rock decided he was just done with WWE's creative direction, and he felt like he wasn't needed in the storyline. This was completely baffling, as removing the catalyst for the entire heel run left WWE in the dark, and they had to scramble to justify the reason for the heel turn. The Rock...
And it wouldn't have been that hard. They could have easily just had Cena come out and say, I did what I had to do to get that championship match. I did what I had to do in order to get the powers to be to align with me. Or like whatever he could have done, he could have easily threw in 10 seconds in a promo and made it make sense. I got tired of being the nice guy. I got tired of this and that. But instead, the dude comes out and blames the fans. He could have at least said, bro, I got tired of being a nice guy. I got tired of working for y'all. And y'all not appreciating. Nah, not appreciating when it worked. End of the day, I felt like y'all weren't ready to appreciate the greatness that is John Cena's 17th year. Or 17th championship. I had to do anything I could do. Because I was doing things the nice guy way. I was doing this, trying to put smiles on y'all's faces. And y'all seen. I done lost the last 50 matches or whatever the case, whatever it was. So I had to find a leg up. I had to go to the dojo. The dojo with the people's champ. I don't know, it could be something, man.
Would be barely mentioned in any capacity during Cena's heel run, and Cena had to go down the typical "you booed me" route, despite the fans not booing him for
at all.
Years. It was horrendous, and unfortunately, all the blame falls directly on The Rock. Number 7.
How do you blame The Rock? It doesn't make any sense. Why would you blame The Rock? if everybody else in a part of the storyline does not even refer to The Rock? The Rock didn't have to show up. Yes, The Rock could have made it better by showing up, but if you had to ask me, everything that happened prior to that, with The Rock talking about, I want your soul, Cody Rhodes, I was like, what the hell is The Rock talking about? Is this dude crazy? So he didn't have to be there at all, because him being there made the story terrible to begin with. He came out on Netflix on Raw being Cody Rhodes' friend. Talk about, man, our mamas was... He could have not showed up at all. All John Cena had to do was say, I'm working with the higher-ups. I'm working with the owner. The man that sits at the board, the final boss. He taught me some tricks. He taught me what I needed to do to get under Cody Rhodes' skin. He could have came out there and said, hey, man, Mama Rhodes, this, that, and the third. We didn't see Mama Rhodes until WrestleMania. But The Rock continued to refer to her leading up to WrestleMania 40. Why couldn't John Cena have did something similar? But we're going to blame The Rock.
Wrong killings. rtruth is one of the most
beloved
wrestlers of all time, and it's extremely hard to find a single name on the planet that has a bad word to say about him. Therefore, when WWE cut Truth from his contract,
horrible. Another easy layup. Again, an easy layup for them to throw to John Cena and have John Cena take
these actions. They would bring Truth back in a main event angle, and he would ditch the comedic character for a more
cut his hair, and now he's just
presentation.
joking around.
The Truth name would also be gone, and Truth would now be known by his real name, Wrong Killings. But just weeks into this big return, Truth would be back to his comedic ways, and in the backstage segment with John Cena, the entire thing would just be played off for laughs, making it a complete waste of everyone's time. Truth's serious side could have been a fantastic addition to the roster, but WWE just couldn't resist reverting Truth back to his old ways. Number 6, John Cena is a babyface? On the road to SummerSlam 2025, WWE realized that John Cena
literally just had him come out.
Completely bombed, so they decided to pivot. Randomly on an episode of SmackDown, Cena would realize the error of his ways, and he would even share a beer with Cody Rhodes in the middle of the ring.
This is why I'm not excited about the Seth Rollins thing. While it caught me off guard because the story didn't logically follow for this dude to just randomly get attacked on a random Monday Night Raw. The only reason we could have alleged that it would have made any sense was that Seth Rollins continued to refer to these guys as dudes that weren't really there to help him, not guys that he needed. They weren't family. And at the end of the day, I'm not mad at it. I just didn't expect it so soon. Now, this is why I can't get too high on it, because WWE has a terrible job of following up. Look at most of these that we've seen so far. Pops from this year.
After this moment, there was no looking back for WWE.
Viral moments from this year
Cena would be back with
that
his old presentation,
led nowhere.
And the motives for him turning heel in the first place were basically retconned out of existence. The only reference to the heel run were in passing or with Cena interacting with a young fan.
They could even have, if Seth Rollins is legitimately injured, they could even have them dudes come out there and say, dude, you're old. How are you the future when you keep going down with injuries? You can't hold the company on your back. You can barely hold yourself together. So easy.
A fan he scolded during one of his villainous promos. It's really rare for WWE to pivot like this, but some of the most substantial pivots in WWE history have occurred in the past 2 years, which perhaps speaks to the nature of WWE's...
I get it. It's wrestling, bro. We're supposed to enjoy it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's supposed to be entertaining. But, dude, come on. Like, bro, this is like $1 billion business, bro. At the very least, let's, like, you know, put a little bit of entertainment in here, bro. Something that we can at least stick to over the few hours.
Creative. Number 5, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns make amends. One of the ongoing story arcs of the Triple H era has focused on the issues between Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. In the storyline, it is presented as if the two have been bitter enemies since Rollins disbanded the Shield faction back in 2014. But this is a major retcon. WWE are failing to address the numerous Shield reunions over the years, and even the fact that Rollins and Reigns were on good terms just 2 years after the initial breakup. Why would WWE put this storyline in this way? Well, the simple answer is that addressing the fact that the two were friends post-Shield breakup may have been seen as too confusing. Retconning the post-2014 reunions out of existence keeps the integrity of the 2014 breakup intact and creates an image that the two have been mortal enemies since that time. A WWE likes to act that Reigns is traumatized by a dreaded steel chair, the steel chair that Rollins used to disband the Shield group, but this is a
Which
relatively
I'm not mad
new
at.
story beat that was only added into the lore a number of years ago. Number 4, the NXT title
I'm not mad
is
at
a
that
world
part, though. I ain't
title.
gonna lie.
Now in 2020, around WrestleMania season, WWE decided that the NXT title was going to be presented as a world title on par with the two respective titles on Raw and SmackDown. This caused some controversy at the time, as it hasn't been mentioned prior, and the only reason for this new rule was because Charlotte Flair was challenging for the NXT Women's title at WrestleMania 36, and as the Royal Rumble winner, they had to pretend like it was a legitimate world title.
Wait a minute.
Whilst it certainly made the match feel like a big deal, it opened up a big can of worms, as WWE were now saying that all the lineage of former champions counted as world champions, but this wasn't actively mentioned on TV.
I
For
see what you're
instance,
saying.
when Shinsuke Nakamura would wrestle on the main roster, he wouldn't be labelled and promoted as a former world champion, so it was confusing as to what WWE were executing. The entire phase was retconned when WWE introduced the NXT 2.0 brand, and WWE decided that the NXT titles were definitely not world titles. Around 2021, the titles would never be referenced as world titles ever again, which was a right move as NXT was a developmental brand, and acting like their two top titles were on par with the WWE titles was
Would make
just
sense, yeah.
nonsensical. Number 3, the ECW title is a world title. Now the NXT title isn't the only title which went through a brief period of being recognized as a world title. When WWE relaunched the ECW brand in 2006, the ECW title was officially called the ECW World title. Now, this made sense as it has names such as The Big Show and Rob Van Dam competing for the gold. However, when names such as Johnny Nitro, Vince McMahon and Chavo Guerrero began to win the title, it quickly dawned on fans that there was no way WWE could legitimately be saying that this was equal to the two other world titles. In 2007, The Undertaker would get the opportunity to pick his WrestleMania opponent following his Royal Rumble win, and he could pick between the WWE title, the World title, and the ECW World title. At the time, the ECW World title was held by Bobby Lashley, and Lashley didn't feel remotely out of place standing side by side with Batista and John Cena. However, just a few months after this, WWE decided to deliver a major retcon. They would decide that the ECW World title was no longer going to be considered a world title. This was confirmed when reigning champion Chavo Guerrero would enter the 2008 Royal Rumble. This was the right move from WWE, as the names that were holding that title would become increasingly more questionable as the years went on. Number 2, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon's divorce. The lore and continuity surrounding Triple H and Stephanie McMahon on TV is hard to grasp. The two in kayfabe became an item in 1999, and then in 2002, they divorced. However, fast forward to 2009, they were once again married, and it was implied that the two had never had any issues, and the two had been committed to each other for a long time. This all surfaced during the Randy Orton vs. McMahon family storyline. This wasn't the only thing that was retconned, as any prior bad blood between Triple H and Vince McMahon was also erased. Triple H was presented as McMahon's son-in-law, however during the 2006, 2007 and 2008 rivalry, yeah they feuded for 3 years, this relationship was never directly cemented to the audience. And number 1, The Rock and Cody Rhodes fiasco.
Oh my gosh.
The storyline revolving The Rock and Cody Rhodes is so hard to dissect, because
You know what? I legitimately don't even know if like Stephanie McMahon and like Triple H are actually legitimately together. So, I mean, they kind of did a good job.
it has numerous retcons and pivots that made it difficult to follow as fans.
No.
The first issues between the two surfaced in 2024 when Cody Rhodes gave up his WrestleMania spot so The Rock could wrestle Roman Reigns. It really wasn't exactly made clear why Rhodes gave up his spot. However, due to the fan backlash,
I'll give them the props though.
WWE were forced to pivot.
They did a good job.
To Rhodes versus Reigns. Due to this, issues between The Rock and Rhodes came to the forefront, and the two engaged in a heated blood feud on the road to WrestleMania 40. The night after WrestleMania 40, the two engaged in a title swap ceremony in one of the most awkward and forced segments ever seen on WWE television. Rhodes wasn't angry at The Rock, despite him making his life a living hell over the past few weeks. Rhodes just seemed to go along with
Cody Rhodes just forgives everybody.
But then at Bad Blood in October 2024, The Rock would confront Rhodes along with Roman Reigns to close out the show, and it looked like he was teasing a future matchup by holding up his fingers in the entranceway. The Rock would counter 3 using John Cena's signature hand gesture and made a throat slash gesture before leaving. Now The Rock would speak on this signal saying it meant something. I'm a long gamer. At Bad Blood, it was a pay-per-view that The Rock attended, and I just did a very small, subtle thing. There was a lot of criticism like, oh, it didn't mean anything. Well, it did. It's okay if you're not thinking about it now, but trust me when I say this, we are thinking about this stuff. We are long gaming this. Now, it turned out that that signal meant absolutely nothing. The Rock was simply there at Bad Blood to make a moment, nothing else. There was no long-term plan at all. In fact, things got even stranger in January at the Raw
When they were
Netflix
friends.
premiere, and The Rock explained that he and Rhodes had now become close personal friends, and they even hugged. There was absolutely zero explanation as to what had happened in between that time. How did they become best friends again? All it did was present Rhodes as a complete idiot. How could Rhodes forgive The Rock for treating him in such a way?
He forgives everybody.
It was one of the most baffling storylines ever. But there you have it, folks. 10 insane.
Unfortunately, the champion Cody Rhodes forgives everyone. He's everyone's best friend. It doesn't matter who it is. He's their best friend right after they feud. He's an idiot. I mean, if you look at everybody. Seth Rollins. They feuded, and then they united at WrestleMania 40. Then on the feud again. Crown Jewel. He sided with Roman Reigns after WrestleMania 40. Cody Rhodes is an idiot. And that's the problem. Is that if you require this dude to be in every show and every PLE, and then you don't really get him to close the chapter Roman Reigns, you get to the point where Roman Reigns is now have to interact with Cody Rhodes in a way that they're not feuding. That's an L. That's an L if all you can do is build up a WrestleMania match between these two guys, but you can't do anything else throughout the year. I mean, again, if we had to look back at Triple H and Randy Orton and some of these other feuds, we kind of saw these dudes wrestle in multiple PLEs, which I'm not the biggest fan of saying that we should every PLE have Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns fighting against one another. But if you can't at least draw on some continuity throughout the PLEs, it's kind of trash. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this one. Shout out to WrestleMania. Good video. Additionally, it is super crazy that majority of the stuff was from the last year. But hey, it is what it is.